Welcome to the Jerry Falwell Museum. When you come to visit Liberty's campus, you can find it in the DeMoss building. It's the grand lobby that you want to visit, and the Jerry Falwell Museum is right there. It is just filled with the history of Dr. Falwell's life from his childhood throughout. It also goes into his vision for the ministry of Thomas Road Baptist Church and Liberty University, his role in politics, and even his family history. So you just get a great picture of who Dr. Falwell is as a man when you visit this museum. A group of amazing and creative people put this museum together for Dr. Falwell's 70th birthday in 2003, and it was supposed to be a surprise. Fortunately, it was a surprise, but surprising Dr. Falwell was never an easy feat. In fact, he was usually the one dishing out the surprises. In fact, most people will have a story about him and something that he did to entertain them. Usually, if you were a fellow at the university, if he saw you, he'd give you a big slap on the back and make you remember him, just enough sting so you wouldn't forget. He also liked to drive his Chevrolet Suburban big black vehicle down the roads of Liberty, and he'd honk at passersby very obnoxiously, and everybody knew to wave. It was awesome. He was an awesome man, wonderful person, and a pastor with a really sincere and loving heart. One of my favorite stories happened actually when I was a teenager. He and his wife did something that we never would have thought that they would do. We had a party at my house for Liberty Broadcasting Network, and it was a costume party. And on the way into the house was this big man dressed as a farmer with a mask on. Nobody really knew who he was, but they could tell from his gait and his overall demeanor that that was indeed our pastor, Jerry Falwell. But he never identified himself, and he never spoke, so it was never actually confirmed. A little while behind him, on the way into the house, was this tiny little frail fairy tale crone with a mask on as well. And nobody knew who that was. And this person didn't speak either. So they came into the house, and all the guests are being very kind and kind of trying to figure out who these people are. Kind of already knowing that Dr. Falwell's in their midst, but not really sure about that old crone. And it was a little awkward. My mom went into the kitchen with their son, Jonathan, and she said, I'm a little worried about this other person. I don't know who it is, and I want to make sure that your dad's okay and that nobody's there gonna hurt him, you know, since we don't know who it is. And Jonathan was like, I wouldn't worry about it, knowing, of course, that it was, in fact, his mom. So never that night did they reveal themselves. And it was later that it was confirmed that Dr. Falwell and Maisel were in our midst at our costume party. They did all kinds of cute and fun things like that together. And that's just one of the things that you'll hear when you talk to people about Dr. Falwell. That is what a narrative story is. It's a little tiny story about a person or an experience that you have had in your life. This place here is a novel. You're going to hear everything about Dr. Falwell in this room. And you want to, as you're writing a narrative, you want to resist telling the entire story and just focus on one small moment in time and memory. So, the narrative is a personal story that focuses on one memory or moment in a person's life. And that story about Dr. Falwell and Maisel was a favorite of mine, a memory of in a moment in time. The process of the narrative is really something that I'd like you to get out a piece of paper so you can jot some ideas down as you're writing, as I'm talking as well. You want to choose a topic that means something to you. It can be happy, it can be sad, it can be an important person in your life, an embarrassing moment, a childhood memory, a mistake. For me, my memory was Dr. Falwell. was a pleasant memory of Dr. Falwell. Then you want to decide on your point. What do you want to communicate about the memory? It should be an overall impression or idea that you want the reader to leave with and you want to get across to them. My overall idea was that Dr. Jerry Falwell had a fantastic sense of humor. Your audience, who will be reading this piece? Keep in mind that your instructor is going to be reading the piece, so instantly you have an audience right there. But who else might be reading it? Would your family be reading it? Would you share it with a coworker? Think about those kind of things, because as you're writing, something may come up that you may need to clarify in case your reader is unfamiliar with the topic. And you'll need to make sure that you put that information in there. You are my audience because you are my student, or you are the viewer of this particular video. So I had to keep you in mind as I was telling the story. So consider your audience and make sure that you speak directly to them. Finally, in the process of the narrative, you need to decide on your purpose. Do you want to persuade, entertain, or inform? My purpose was to inform you, but also mainly to entertain. So it can be a combination sometime of both. Once you've gone through that process, you need to craft your topic sentence. And your topic sentence should be a combination of your topic and your point. This should be one of the first sentences of your paragraph, if not your first. And my topic sentence might be, one of my favorite memories of Dr. Jerry Falwell occurred at a costume party. It was because of that party that I realized what an amazing sense of humor Dr. Falwell had. The paragraph plan would follow in your pre-writing and you're preparing for your narrative. At this point, you would need to jot down all your ideas for the narrative and then kind of decide on the order in which you would want to include them. Once you do this, you will have a great start for writing your rough draft. And then your rough draft is just that. It is rough. It does not need to be perfect. It needs to be the first draft that you write right after you've done your pre-writing. And then from there, your instructor will work with you to help you design and revise and edit and to get you through the next processes to a nice final product. Ecclesiastes 3:1-11 says, "There's a time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What does the worker gain from his toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on men. He has made everything beautiful in its time." Like Dr. Falwell, you have lived a life full of memories and moments in time. Resist writing a novel. Try to focus on one of those moments, whether it be a time when you wept, or a time when you laughed, a time when somebody that you loved passed away, a time when you really loved another person, and focus on that moment in time, and it will also be beautiful. Good luck on your narratives, and God bless.